Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. And the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel is designed to review old school and new school wrestling. Got almost 1,200 audios available over the last year. Hoping to double that this year in 2021. But anyway, we go into the April 25th, 1992 edition of the WCW Saturday Night program. We open with basically an announcement of injury to Sting at the Omni in Atlanta. Bill Fralick, football player, is here. 2 out of 3 fall matches, your main event, Barry Windham and Steve Austin for the WCW Television Championship at the time. Basically, Windham says he's got Austin's number. Austin says he's one of the best ever, and of course managed by Paul Heyman. We move into the first match of the day, which is a match with Firebreaker Chip and Scotty Flamingo, otherwise known as Raven. Dropped to a hold very early. Raven not willing to take a backward step, kind of fluffing his hair, really, or Flamingo at this point, really very arrogant. Of course, coming off of Portland at this time, I'd love to actually see some of his Portland stuff. I haven't had a chance to see much of it and might search it out at one point or another in the future. Roll up Curtis Thompson, aka Firebreaker Chip, and Flamingo tries to stall. Really good match if you like basic psychology and if you like the kind of run of the mill wrestling for the late 80s, early 90s. Monkey flip out of the corner at one point by Chip gets things going back his way. A lot of backing up by Flamingo, and he tries the monkey flip, gets one of his own. However, Chip lands on his feet, and that doesn't go well for his opponent here. We then go into more of the contest and attempted cutoff near sunset flip. Flamingo holding on to the top rope. Does the punch on the sunset flip, but gets taken over anyway. 1, 2, and a near fall there. Lots of back and forth. Lots of really basic stuff. Doesn't need a lot of, high spots or chaos. They're telling the story where heel always comes back to get an advantage with cheating when necessary. Doesn't waste a lot of extra motion. There is a fist drop where Flamingo runs into the foot of his opponent, which is kind of ironic and funny. Flamingo also does the hop step after taking punches, which is kind of cool to see. It's just good old-fashioned storytelling, which I think is becoming more and more a lost art. A short sit-out pile driver, 1, 2, 3, and a win for Scotty Flamingo. But obviously Thompson, who does a kick out very near the end of things, kicks out at about 3.5, so he's not taking a backward step. Vader does a promo in the WCW magazine segment hosted by Bischoff. I actually enjoy this version of Bischoff more than other versions of him. To be fair, I do listen to his podcast regularly, and if you've never listened to the 83 Weeks podcast, getting into the head of Eric Bischoff, the person, is interesting. Vader basically says he's going to continue to bring the pain to Sting. There's a few months before the heads up with the change of the championship at the Great American Bash 92. 92, my favorite WCW year of all time. Then we go to the U.S. Tag Team Champions, the Taylor Made Man and Greg Valentine. Still a weird team, and the belts are kind of, I don't know, I'd say kind of sad looking. And then Steve Austin answers a fan question. Nothing really incremental there. And then we move on to going back to the studio. More talk between everybody. We bring out a interesting segment with Nikita Koloff. Koloff, who has all but lost most of his Russian accent here. Basically says he went back to handle things with his native country of Lithuania, and he was upset that he had upset a Sting fan back in 1991. Talks about and hints at the Dusty Rhodes issue. Um, and there's issues at Wrestle War from 1991. I actually have not seen WCW 1991 all the way through. Would love to find some footage there. Nikita Koloff nailing Luger between the eyes and Luger's heel at Wrestle War 91. I do not remember that. I know I've seen it, but didn't come forward there. But Koloff says he wants to do right by Sting, which is kind of a cool thing. Brings out a young girl who is, she considers herself to be one of Sting's number one fans, and that's there as well. Good promo. I love Nikita Koloff, and he's one of the people I'd love to interview just for the kid in me, so to speak. Then we go to one half of the tag team champions, Arn Anderson, getting a really good enhancement match out of Larry Santo. Enhancement match because that's what it is. Anyway, Anderson drops the knee right on the bridge of the nose. Is very aggressive and assertive, yet doesn't really waste a lot of motion. Paulie dangerously on the outside. Of course, Anderson still a member of the Dangerous Alliance. Anderson does a lot of choking, a lot of punching, a lot of kicking, doing basic stuff, but also working the body as an Anderson would and should for this time in the area, mainly working over the arm, lots of hammerlock slams, and eventually winning with the spine buster, which Anderson, I believe, is the inventor of the move. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure Arn Anderson invented the spine buster somewhere early in his career. Then we go back to the main event. After some more promo work, main event, of course, 2 out of 3 falls. The WCW Television Championship on the line. Go out of your way to watch this match. They are given about maybe 10, 11 minutes here for the 2 out of 3 falls match. I guess baseball or something else preempted them, as this is only a 42-minute program. But Steve Austin and Barry Windham fast becoming one of my favorite feuds for the era. Of course, early Austin. See, I loved Austin until he won the championship in the WWF. I know that's when everybody fell in love with him. But Austin, 89 through 97, maybe early 98. I think the last match I really, really enjoyed of his was his switch to winning the championship from Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. But anyway, Austin in WCW is a guilty pleasure of mine. So well done. Obviously, he's green here. He's only got a couple of years under him, maybe 2-3 years maximum, but he is phenomenal. Paul Heyman on the outside, aka Paulie Dangerously at the time. And the use of headlock takeover is pretty predominant throughout. There is a rematch between these two that's even longer than this one, which we'll be covering in the next couple of weeks. They work the headlock takeover, though, for several minutes, keeping coming back to it. Lots of people would say this is boring. No, this is wrestling, and the stuff that's out there now is just a lot of gymnastics, and I'd rather watch a guy work a headlock and make it look painful than watch a guy do a moonsault. But that's just me. Anyway, so they kind of square off, fight over jockeying position in a suplex situation. Both guys kind of square off there. The old head scissors spot leading to a headstand by Windham. Windham here still hasn't put on the pudge that he does by 93. Starting to look a little bit out of shape, but at this point in 92, he still cared. I think by 93, 94, Barry Windham had stopped caring for a little while. And also, I think there was a knee injury there, if I remember correctly. that might have hindered his ability to stay in maximum shape. But needless to say, Austin brings him back in, goes at him pretty aggressively, finally does get that vertical suplex he'd been looking, or does not get the vertical suplex, goes back to it, and Wyndham does one of the better vertical suplexes that you see. He does get a winning fall here, one fall in the 2 out of 3 falls match, and that's a good little run there. They go back to the second fall after a little bit of time. And, ultimately that leads to a drop kick under the chin by Wyndham. Wyndham still looking to be one of the best in the business. I honestly wonder if he wasn't the best from, let's say, 80, 86 through 88, and then one of the best in 91, 92. His WWF run was rather inconsequential, but he never fit there anyway. An interesting, almost rocket launcher style off the top rope by Austin. And you see Austin kind of slowing things down a bit. That's there. Heyman slash dangerously on the outside, looking nervous. And he adds to the undercurrent of the match here. Just about 4 minutes remaining. They continue to go, and I like the 2 out of 3 fall. I don't think they do enough of those these days. I think, but also too, telling longer stories isn't something that wrestling is passionate about in 2021. I wish there was more 70s footage. I would love to see the evolution that took place from, let's say, 75 to 82, and just look at, because I'm reasonably knowledgeable about much of wrestling from 1980 forward, but 75 and through the early 80s, my knowledge is lacking. So I'd actually like to see that. Austin finally does get the suplex about 2 minutes before the match ends, but misses a second rope elbow drop or leg drop. Kind of looked like he was going for the elbow drop, but he launches it like a leg drop. So not exactly sure what he's going for there. Double down or the double collision spot, and both guys are all but out of breath. They've got about a minute and a half left. Big lariat by Wyndham, and Austin puts his legs on the bottom rope. Referee taps Wyndham on the back as if to insinuate that either time limit is close or the foot on the bottom rope. Again, Wyndham with the float over on the suplex. I think I like that, the vertical suplex float over spot, and the match is all but called, and nothing is settled between the two, which means we get to see them again in the next couple of weeks. And Paul Heyman's happy with this. I'm happy with this. And we'll be back with more right after this.